Last but not least, David from Assetblocks
Thank you.
to talk about tokenization and ecology and environmental. If I wasn't an entrepreneur in cybersecurity, I would definitely be in ecology and environmental issues. So yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for presenting the Assetblocks. So yeah, let's give people a rundown of what Assetblocks is.
Yeah, so basically Assetblocks is part of Catena Group. Catena Group is a private investment firm in the renewable energy industry. So we've got an asset base in wind farms, solar fields, but also battery storage and these kind of things. And Assetblocks is part of that. And with Assetblocks, we are tokenizing our asset base. So we both do the equity, so that people can directly invest in solar and wind farms, but we also tokenize the bonds. And to be fair, Assetblocks is a wider ID. I mean, it's not called energy blocks or wind blocks. It's called Assetblocks because we also like to tokenize more assets in the future. But we are basically bootstrapping from our own asset base. I think that's a challenge that a lot of startups have in this space. You can create a very nice tech stack or a very nice platform, but then you need to get the assets to or find parties to tokenize and to have them on your platform. And you obviously also need to create a buy side, people that are willing to invest. And we are just using our asset base to, well, we already have these assets, they're already financed, so we don't have any placement risk. We can just use these assets to learn, to deploy, and also create then a buy side. So we're doing that now on renewable energy. It's a hot topic at the moment. It's very interested from institutional investors, but also retail investors who would like to invest closer to the assets. And it's going quite well.
Cool. Is this what Power O2 is about?
Yeah. So the Power tokens are it's called our Power Bonds program. Power stands for private offerings with exceptional returns, and just so you know. No, it's so we've created a bond program under the like we call it the Power program, and we did the first Power placement we already did 4 years ago. So that was really our tryout to see like how do these tokenized bonds really work. Now we've done the Power 2, which is a bigger bonds program, and we are doing it in tranches. So we're now selling out the second tranche.
Cool.
And it's going well.
And who's the buy side?
Yeah, so that's mixed. I'd like to call it retail plus. It's we see that the typical investment size is around at the moment 10 to 20,000. We see entrepreneurs who need to manage their own pension monies, these kind of things. Also some individuals who just have a bit of savings.
Yeah.
But on the other side, we also see now interest from, call it light institutional. So they do the smaller tickets. And what I think is going to be interesting is I think we're going to see these two groups investing together. Don't say it to the institutional investors yet, because they will say, no, we're never going to do that. But I think that's going to happen, because it's just basically the whole infrastructure is now decentralized. And what we're seeing now is that we're in talks with a few banks, and they will most likely buy a portion of the bonds, host these tokens in their own infrastructure, and their institutional investors may invest. So I think it's going to be a mix of, like I said, retail plus, although sometimes you've got these smaller tickets, but it's mostly, yeah.
Interesting. So you've been part of a European blockchain sandbox with ING, another Rabobank, and others.
Yeah.
You could maybe talk about that, but my question is like, is regulation to some degree about ESG? We talked. Pierre Nicolas just mentioned the fact that we need to decrease also the temperature of climate warms, etc. Like, is regulation kind of helping you, or are we not there yet?
Well, regulation is, I think, the most challenging part of Assetblocks was not really the technical part, but it's the regulation part. And we're dealing with security tokens, and then you get into this gray area of like most regulators don't even fully comprehend or understand what it means and how. And most of the time they try to apply traditional laws to this new ecosystem, whereas they need to rethink a few of these the implications. That's also why we're part of the sandbox, because the regulators are open to this. They are learning, they are understanding that they need to work together with parties who are actively using it and applying it in the industry. From that side, it's helping. Regulation from the other side, but so our bonds are rated with the green bond rating, or basically the company is rated with that, or scored, I should say. That's obviously also helping, because then you can just show that it's got this and this rating. We are using ISIN codes, so the International Securities Identification Numbers. So we're using traditional ways to show that these tokenized bonds are basically normal bonds. I think that's the biggest challenge most of the time. It's not like this really weird kind of instrument. No, it's a bond like or an equity product like but it's just being registered on the blockchain, and that gives a lot of benefits in the future and also now. But yeah.
So you mentioned at the beginning that it was Assetblocks, not energy blocks.
Well, it is. Yeah, we're deploying energy blocks now.
Yeah. So maybe my question would be, what are the new markets you see emerge in terms of new liquidity that would be coming, and that would be an opportunity, and where you would be focusing for the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, we are obviously focusing on on the renewable energy. We've got a lot of experience in renewable energy, and we see that market continue to grow, and there's a lot of assets to be tokenized. At the moment, we're also in the process of obtaining a license, so we can use our knowledge and our skills to apply to others. And for example, what we would like to do is to be able to underwrite larger bonds and then place them. So basically some sort of new digital investment bank. And we see a large opportunity in the bond field between 25 to 100 million. Most of the times they're too small for the bigger banks, but too big for the smaller tickets. So it's a difficult spot over there. So there I see a big opportunity. And the other dream I have for, well, maybe 2024 is too soon, but let's hope it's 2024. I would like to be able that we're going to offer staking products. So we offer stable cash flow generating assets. And now it's renewable energy, but could also be other types of bonds. And those are excellent products to create a service where someone can stake Bitcoin or whatever and just get a return from a real stable financial product, and not just from trading fees from other DeFi protocols. I think a lot of people still have PTSD from what happened a while ago, myself included, to be fair. But I think that's also a big part, because then we can tap into liquidity. Like you also said in your talk, if Bitcoin really goes to 100 trillion, well, there's so much liquidity to be used for, well, basically, selling real world assets.
Yeah. But you still think that the ESG play is going to be the main play for you in the future? Do you think, like, I'm thinking of hydrogen, I'm thinking of so many like cool things that are happening right now within that space, and I know that banks have like obligations to ensure, that a lot of their activities, a lot of their products are ESG compliant, etc., etc. Like, is that helping you?
Yes,
do you think?
For sure. So that's a sweet spot, actually. So I can't name any names yet, but I think we're very close on signing a bond with a big bank to be done by Assetblocks. And what you see over there is we're on a sweet spot there. So we're tokenizing. So they love that now, because then they can show like we are also innovative, and we are actually using that. And also because it's ESG, it opens a lot of avenues. It creates, like you said, they need to invest a certain amount of capital into ESG related products, and that the crossroad on that, it's actually very nice that then, they tend to do a bit more their best. If it wasn't ESG, they would have said, no, we're not going to do it because the volume is too low or whatever, or the risks are too high, because you still need to go through quite a few hoops to get where you need to go. But if you are an ESG rated bond, for example, plus you're also on the blockchain, it certainly helps.
That's very cool. Where is Assetblocks based?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Yeah, although our assets are all over Europe, mainly in Germany.
How is it to operate in Amsterdam in Netherlands in terms of regulation, also ecosystem, etc.?
Well, it's basically we're going towards MiCA, obviously, so it's that's the same. I don't think there's not a real big startup community in my opinion in the Netherlands, although it's growing. It's more in Amsterdam. We've got a lot of crypto, obviously, but I do tend to think that's a different group of people and a different vibe. Although we do connect, obviously. But no, it's certainly getting traction, and I think the bull market always helps. And you already mentioned. You asked the questions a few times, like what do you do during 2023, for example. I think those are the moments in which you need to build, in which you need to develop. And now you already see that the noise is increasing, and there's a lot of vibe and everything. Is all of a sudden we hear blockchain everywhere, which is very good, and which is also very good to gain traction. Although it was a bit quiet the last year, also in Amsterdam.
You have big banks, nice banks that are actually engaged in this, so that's good.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like I've been in blockchain for quite a while, and one of the reasons why I joined Catena several years ago was to create a bridge between all the innovations that we see in the blockchain world and the real world. And after a while, I got introduced to, for example, ING or Rabo or ABN, and they have now this. Some of them call it the digital asset desk, the other call it the innovation desk. They have all these names for it, but they are looking into. I'm not saying they're really already working with crypto, although they're starting to do it, but they are very interested in it, and it was a nice experience to see, because normally, like many years ago, they were still the enemy towards all the crypto people, but now we see that we're going to work hand in hand.
Cool. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for attending. We can now all resume our breakfast if we want. Thank you everyone.